In this video, we'll discuss how to intuitively read someone's face by assessing 3 core features. Enjoy.
Hey everybody. So typically on Mondays, I do a face reading of a famous celebrity. This week, today, Monday, you'll be watching this on Monday for those of you who are catching the video that's releasing today. I am traveling this weekend, and as such, I'm doing another face reading tutorial because they are a little less intensive in terms of time and editing than my face reading of celebrities. So the following week, I'll be back onto my schedule of Mondays being celebrity, Thursdays being tutorials. But this week, and these last two videos, Thursdays and today's, are going to be both face reading tutorials. So that being said, the thing I want to talk about today is how to read the face intuitively. And when we do face reading, there's always some level of intuition being engaged when you're doing it, but there's a way to streamline this a bit more, to target in a bit better. And the thing I want you to focus on are what they call the core features, which are the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. Now, the eyes have a lot of associations. There's a lot of metrics we can look at regarding the eyes. Same is true for the nose, and same is true for the mouth. But if you think of sort of like a mountain top, okay? Big base, and at the very tippy top of that mountain, that's the best view. It's the highest place on that symbol. And I want you to think of these, each one of these, as kind of what we're talking about in this video is the tippy top of that mountain. We're not talking about all of the foundational information. We're talking about sort of the cream off the top. To make things incredibly simple and to keep these exercises accessible, we're going to go with sort of the core, most important thing that comes out of the eyes, that comes out of the nose, and comes out of the mouth. And when you read these features individually or collectively, all at the same time, you're going to get kind of an intuitive read on how a person operates and your relationship to their energy and their personality. Are you a fit? Are you not a fit? Are we going to be good business partners? Are we going to be good romantic partners? So, first and foremost, the eyes. The eyes, the epicenter idea behind the eyes is the consciousness of a person. So when you look at a person's eyes, I want you to think you're looking at their consciousness, how their mind operates, how they think to a degree, and what their eyes give off and how it makes you feel should have some kind of correlative tie to how you're going to relate to them. So when you look at someone's eyes, think about the state of their consciousness. You can think the soul or the anima of a person, but I really want you to think you're looking into their mind and how it operates to a degree, and the feeling you get from their eyes is important. The next one is the nose. Again, lots of symbology, lots of metrics we could talk about the nose, but when you're looking at someone's nose, especially when you're shooting from the hip and learning about somebody or wanting to get to know them better by reading their face, I want you to think of the ego. The person's identity is going to be shaped and seen in the nose. And what I mean by that is the more dominant a nose is, the more it protrudes from profile. So if a nose is very dominant and shoots out, or it's very wide, or it's got big nostrils, but there's something dominant about the nose, this should have associations to the operating system of their ego. The larger, more dominant, and more aggressive and more bold that nose is, typically the more the person is going to wrestle with their ego to a degree. The working theory is if you have a really dominant nose, up till 40, you're going to be working on some ego issues. You might have some arrogance issues and whatnot. And then post 40, it's your job to regulate that, or I should say down-regulate that and make things a little more digestible for the people around you. But again, I want you to look at someone's nose. When we look at someone's nose, the feeling that you get from looking at someone's nose should clue you into how you relate to their ego. So if you look at someone's nose and you're like, boy, they got a great nose. I like that nose. There's something about it I like. We all have egos. The ego is functional. This talk in the psychedelic circles about we need to stay in the state of ego death all the time is that's nonsense, I think. We need our ego. The ego is a character that we need to use and play, and it helps us get through life. And some of us like each other's egos, and some of us are like, the ego is too big, and I don't like it. But the idea is the feeling you get when you look at someone's nose and the natural draw that you have, or the repelling energy you have to that, should be an indicator and a metric for how well do our personalities meld and blend. The last one is the mouth, and this relates to connection. This means connection with friends, connection around the dinner table, connection with family, connection with workmates and teammates and coworkers and that kind of thing. So the mouth is about connection. When you look at a person's mouth and the feeling it gives you, whether you really like it or you really don't, will give you sort of a personal glimpse into how that person connects to people around them and how you connect. So the mouth again, if you see a person's, I'll go at it from this angle because there's lots of different ways to talk about this. But if you look at a person's mouth and you really like the way their mouth looks, there's something aesthetically pleasing about it. Typically what you'll see is that usually how you connect to people and how they connect to people, there will be some kind of congruency there, and it's an invitation to explore that. Maybe it'll hold true. Maybe it won't. I'll save you guys the suspense. Face reading is fallible. It's not always right. There's going to be exceptions to the rule. There's going to be things that deviate from theory because people are complex as shit. That's just the way it goes. So you can't sit here and always use face reading as this all-knowing, determining factor about everybody. That's not how it works. But I want you to think consciousness from the eyes, ego from the nose, connection and social connection and family connection from the mouth. So if you read these individually, if you're new to face reading, you can sort of tune into each of these while you're talking to somebody. And then when you get better, you can look at all of them at the same time or scan up and down and sort of average out the feelings you get from these things. So a lot of face reading is intuitive based. It's listening to that feeling and how it makes you feel. And if you pay attention to it and you get good at this, you will notice that you have very real positive or negative emotional responses to people's faces. And I will tell you this, I have had very negative or apprehensive feelings about people's faces until I talk to them, until I hear their voice and think, it's good to not judge a book completely by its cover. And there's a part of face reading that is judging a book by its cover, but you have to still remain receptive and open. It's not always going to be 100% accurate, but that doesn't mean you should ignore these rhythms either. There's a lot to be had by just looking at the core features and getting an intuitive sense about the person. And the more you do this and the more you practice this at a simple access level, the better you will get face reading, the better you will understand yourself, and the better you will navigate your life and your circles. All right, y'all. Take care.